Catch the Tiger by Melvin Ishmael Johnson.
Welcome to the Bobby Buck Show, where we interview the up-and-coming artists, entrepreneurs, and movers and shakers. Hello, everybody. We get ready to have a nice conversation. And by the way, this is being recorded to the private group, so we give people a little chance to see a preview of what we're going to be talking about today. And today, we're going to be talking with Mr. Melvin Johnson. We got Miss Michelle Go-to-Work Farrell and Miss Shauna Sterling. And we're going to be speaking on J. Edgar Hoover and Catch the Tiger. So I'm going to let Mr. Melvin Johnson explain more about it because he has a reading about this play.
Okay, on Marcus Garvey's birthday is coming up on August the 17th, this Wednesday, August the 17th. We'll be doing a reading of the play at the Greenway Court Theater. That's on Fairfax between Beverly and the Melrose at 7 o'clock. It's a free event. You know, they probably ask for donations, and we hope to live streaming. So come check it out. What it's about, Catch the Tiger. The Tiger was the code name for Marcus Garvey. And this was one of J. Edgar Hoover's main methodology that he used. He always gave the quarry in which he was tracking a code name. For example, Dr. King's code name was Zorro. And all of the documents, his code name was Zorro because J. Edgar Hoover thought that he was like the character Zorro, that he was very dangerous and he hid behind a mask. So he called him a Zorro through there. He called Marcus Garvey a tiger because the tiger, like the leopard, was a symbol for Freemasonry, and J. Edgar Hoover was a Scottish Rite Freemasonry and et cetera like that. And he considered Marcus Garvey to be the Black Messiah. I know they had the movie come out about the Black Messiah, but they were so off with that, you know, talking about the brother from Chicago who was a central figure, you know, Fred Hampton, et cetera like that. But J. Edgar Hoover considered Marcus Garvey to be the most dangerous person because he had the ability to unify the largest Black mass movement in existence even today, you know, not just in the United States, on an international basis. And then he considered Malcolm X to be the Messiah after Marcus Garvey, but after they assassinated Malcolm X, Hoover had the memo called the Hoover Memo, and that was to prevent the rise of a Black Messiah and to unify the Black militant masses. And he thought that Dr. King had that potential if he ever get away from the nonviolent theory. And he sent that memo around a week before Dr. King was assassinated. And in that memo, he tell you he thought the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was too old to be a threat. He mentioned Stokely Carmichael, but the one that he really thought was a threat was Dr. King, because Dr. King had won the Nobel Peace Prize, and they gave him an international voice, and that made him dangerous. You got to always keep in mind, all your Black leaders, et cetera, like that you have out here, long as they're on the domestic scene, you know, no threat at all, because the power structure, the white power structure, is on an international basis. all of these countries is connected, like England, France. You see them on one side. You see the Soviet Union and Iran and China, like that. They on the other side. So they deal on an international basis if you follow what's happening now. Now our play, we deal with Marcus Garvey. When he came over here to join Booker T. Washington. But Booker T. Washington died in 1915. And so Marcus Garvey was going to London, and he would study under Ducey Muhammad Ali, who had a paper called the Orient Review. And he would teach Garvey about where you needed a media outlet for your organization if you're going to be successful. So when Garvey came back, and then he told him, don't go back to Jamaica, don't go to these other cities, go to where the largest Black community exists. And that was in Harlem. So he come back to Harlem, and he also started the Negro World. That was the media that he used, his newspaper, et cetera, like that. He had another brother that was important. A lot of people never even heard this brother's name. His name was Hoover Harrison. He was one of the mentors of Marcus Garvey, considered to be one of the most brilliant Black men that you got. He died in 1928, but he was one of the first editors of the Negro World, and also Garvey's wife, Amy Jake Garvey, who ran that. They was strong Black women. She kept the organization together when Garvey was in prison. Also, Garvey come in contact with very important historical figures that people should be reading right now. One of the most important ones was a brother called J.A. Rogers. Now, when you read J.A. Rogers, because see, so much mess is going on right now about the color thing, light-skinned Blacks against darker-skinned Blacks, Blacks from the Caribbean, from Blacks over here. See, they recycling that same mess. What they should go read, J. Rogers wrote a book, Nature Knows No Color Line, that break all of that mess down and explain. He also wrote 3 books that's called Sex and Race, Volume 1, 2, 3, that was banned, still hard to get. You can get them in the store right now. Also, this brother was very important, 100 Great Men of Color, Volume 1 and 2. And then also, he's the first one that pointed out that, people talking about President Obama being the first Black president and all like that. He wrote a book called 5 Black Presidents. And they tell you these people who was mulattoes already, they was just light-skinned Black, like Thomas Jefferson, Warren G. Harding, Abraham Lincoln, and he lists all 5 of them. And then, so he is one of the characters in the play because he did one of the last interviews of Marcus Garvey when he was in federal prison. Other person in the play, A. Philip Randolph. He was a socialist, had a magazine called The Messenger. But he kind of veered away from Marcus Garvey because Marcus Garvey kind of made an alliance with the Klan. So keep that in mind with the KKK. And that sort of like split the movement during that particular time. And then we talk about W.E.B. Du Bois. I don't have him as a character in there. Now, I do have a screenplay. In the screenplay, I do have W.E.B. Du Bois because he was one of the key elements, one of the key opponents for Marcus Garvey at that particular time. He developed a concept called the talented 10, where they got that from the Bible, about the whole concept of tithes, 10%. And he was pushing that if 10% of the Black get educated, they would reach back for the other 90%. And then Carter G. Woodson, who wrote the great book, The Miseducation of the Negro, pointed out what's happening right now. If they educated like get this kind of Western education, it's going to push them away from the other names. And that's what you have now with the concept that they call the boule. You know, that all of these athletes, entertainers, educators, preachers, who on a whole different page and value system from the other 90% of descendants of the chattel slaves of America. This is where you could have a place like Los Angeles, which the real Black community and people, they don't want to face this. The Black community is not Inglewood, is not Leimert Park. The Black community is Skid Row. See, because that's where you have the majority, a huge majority of that population down there is descendants of the chattel slaves of America. You know, and you know, Bobby, we worked down there a long time, and we used to talk to General Jeff. It's amazing because the other night I was telling Earlene that I had a dream about General Jeff.
Oh yeah.
And the conversation that he kept telling me about, we need to put up community classes down there to retrain the community down there. It was amazing. But to get back to my subject, Garvey, some of the other characters in it is Amy Ashwood Garvey. That was Garvey's first wife. She helped started the movement in Jamaica. And Reverend James Easton. Now, during that particular time, he would have been on the level, just say, of Dr. King in terms of the Black church. When Garvey came to America, he introduced Garvey to the religious community. But what happened, a conflict came, and some of Garvey's followers assassinated him in New Orleans in 1923. And that's what led to what they call the Committee of Eight, which was eight Black leaders who forced the Attorney General to indict and take Marcus Garvey to trial, et cetera, like that. And so we have an excellent cast. Brother Muhammad, who's the producing director. You know Brother Muhammad, Bobby, he used to run the Moments Theater.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, yeah.
This is his theater. Now he's the producing director at the Greenway Court Theater. And he's also reading the part that he originated in the original play. He's playing J.A. Rogers in that play.
Okay.
Also, one other thing, one of the key characters in this whole concept was called Confidential Informant Number 800. And in all of the documents, they were never able to identify who this individual was. He's the one that infiltrated the Garvey movement. He was a bookkeeper for him. All they know about him is that he was a light-skinned, middle-class doctor, hated Marcus Garvey, worked for J. Edgar Hoover. And now the thing to keep in mind, he was called Confidential Informant Number 800. And that what a lot of people miss is that at that time, J. Edgar Hoover had 799 informants before he had number 800. So imagine how many they have today, all over. I mean, that's why it's important. We're going to have to understand what's happening in terms of economics in our community. And I remember, Bobby, we was doing an interview and we talked about economics. I think we were talking about education, economics, and entertainment.
Right.
I believe that was on your birthday a couple of years ago, and we did that interview.
Right.
I was pointing out, for our people to survive, we got to understand the change in nature of the capitalistic economic system in which we live. And what we live in now is what they call the dual ethnic economic community. That means all of these ethnic groups. And the laboratory is right now here in Los Angeles. You got every ethnic group that exists on the globe is out here in Los Angeles. But the strongest one, and the one that you should really be studying, is the Korean community. When I say dual ethnic economic community, all of these ethnic groups exist on a dual level. They control the economic life of their own community. I mean, they create their own jobs, they shop with each other, they develop products and all that kind of stuff. And then they also compete in what I call the shopping mall community, where all of the ethnic groups compete. But you have one ethnic group who only exists in the shopping mall community, and everybody else exploit that particular group all over the United States, and that's the our community. And see, and we got to figure out how to get past that. Now, and what I think it takes is taking control of two of the most important institutions that we let slip out of our hands without knowing it. And that's the Black church, the religious institution, and the educational institution. We have allowed the boule, the middle class, upper middle class Blacks, who have no real relationship with the masses of the Black community, to control the whole life, to guide the directions of the Black community. And we got to get away from that. We got to cut that whole element. We got to cut that head off, because they're not really part of the Black community. They're part of the mainstream community. I'm talking about these people don't like to say it, but they have to face the fact. When you look at these guys in the NBA and NFL, the entertainers and all this kind of stuff out like that, I hate to use the word that they sold out, but coming from an area like Mississippi, the Mississippi Delta, that's the best word that I can think of. Because when you look at, when I was coming up, down there in a totally segregated society in the South with the Democrats, you had all these areas like Alabama, all these schools like Alabama and Ole Miss, South Carolina, Tennessee. Hey, Black people couldn't even put your foot on those campuses. And then when integration come, all of these Blacks, they run to these areas. They run to Alabama. Alabama wins 7 and 8 championships and all that kind of stuff, leaving the Black schools that nurtured them bankrupt. That's why it was so important for Deion Sanders to go down there to Jackson State and bring some attention down there. So it's the same thing. We got Malcolm X pointed out. He said this when he was talking to Dick Gregory. He said, we can't have people like you. We can't have no entertainers like that as our leaders talking about guiding us. No other ethnic group have entertainers and athletes and rappers, and musicians that you got right now guiding them. See? And so until we understand that these people, that these Black elite, boule, whatever they want to call them, is not part of our community. They're part of the mainstream community. See, and now if they want to come back to the community, that's great. And how do they come back? You come back by sending the resources. We don't need your mind. We don't need rappers. We don't need that kind of, they've already did enough damage by bringing all this negativity that's destroying our young people right now. We got to understand what this element is really a satanic element when we look at all of them. Now, I'm not saying that they can't come back to the community, but they got to stop speaking for the community. That's why we can't get our reparations. We got entertainers speaking for us. No, it got to come from, we got to organize from the bottom, and then you see some changes. We got to, what I mentioned earlier, got to take our religious institutions back and got to take our educational institution back from these boule, most of them caught up in the Greek, Masonic, Scottish rites, Prince Hall Mason element that's being controlled by the Scottish rite element in this country. Mm-hmm.
Well, I tell you what, man, I know I want to be there front and center when you do this play reading.
Yeah, Bob, because we're going to work out an arrangement so you can film it. We want you to film it. That's what we want because we're working with KPFK now. I'm trying to keep that connect over there where they can either. We're talking now. We'll talk to them tomorrow about live streaming it or taking a video and play it later on. That's why we definitely need you over there to film it. You know, we work out all the details.
What time is it on that day, Melvin?
It's 7 p.m.
Oh, cool.
On August 17th.
Mm-hmm. And see, it's good to make a connection with Brother Muhammad over there because I would like to see, and I talked to Brother Muhammad about it, I'd like to see these historical high schools like Crenshaw, you know, work with Fairfax High School. Now they got a poetry thing over there they do every Tuesday night. It's live online called the Poetry Lounge. They run that from 9 to 11 every Tuesday over there.
Man. Okay.
The
At Fairfax?
Yeah, the Greenway, and you can pull it up now. You can pull up some.
Yeah, I've been there before. Now I know exactly what you're talking about. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So they do that, and Brother Muhammad, see, interested just like KPFK now is developing more podcasts, and see, and I point out to them is what's needed. You got to start focusing on the teenagers, male and female, from 13 to 19. You got to focus on the older generation. You know, you got to support them and get out of the way. You know, they're not dummies. They can develop their own programs. They got their own friends. They will solve this problem. That's what Malcolm said years ago. He said, put the problems in the hands of the young people and get out of the way and watch them solve it. See, right now, we got to give them the platforms to do that. And that's why I was thinking about that Poetry Lounge. I like that, but we need more.
They used to do what was it called, Lighthouse, for the African American kids over there at the theater with Crenshaw. Do they still do that?
I'm not sure. I know that they got 3 major programs. I know that they are totally involved with Fairfax High School, because one of the things I really like about it is the parking. It's a free parking for when you do a play over there, because that's one of the major stumbling blocks with theater in Los Angeles. Is you go to your park and either you have to pay outrageous rate or you have to walk 5 or 6 blocks, but the theater have free parking right next to the theater.
Yeah, I worked at Fairfax, so I know a little bit of stuff, but it's been a while since I worked with them. So I've gone back maybe a couple of times. So haven't been back to visit, pandemic. So I would love to go back over there and revisit.
Yeah. And Brother Muhammad is a connection because he's the producing director over there for it.
Okay,
all
right.
Definitely, yeah. I have to reconnect with him. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm gonna play a little bit of your promotion that you sent to me. I'm gonna play that now.
Okay.
All right, get this set up.
Catch the Tiger by Melvin Ishmael Johnson. Setting, New York City. Time, 1920 summer. One of the most powerful men in the United States in the last 100 years was J. Edgar Hoover, the creator and director of the FBI. He would create plans and techniques to deal with the gangsters, the radical, the communists, and just about anyone he considered to be a threat to the American way of life. In 1920, J. Edgar Hoover was given a mission of utmost importance, a mission that could change the course of history. What was that mission? It went by the name of Catch the Tiger. And who was the tiger? The tiger was the code name for Marcus Garvey.
Ethiopia shall stretch forth her hand unto God. These so-called Negro leaders of our people seem willing to turn back the clock of progress at the whim of their white support. You must not mistake lip service and noise for bravery. Men and women who will bow, cringe, and hide when the cloud seems dark are those whom we should avoid in choosing as leaders. True leadership looks at dreadful odds and smiles at them for the cause that need assistance. Climb ye the heights of liberty and cease not until you have planted the banner of the red, the black, and the green upon the hilltop of Africa.
The tiger. That is what I'm going to call him. A fearsome and efficient predator. The tiger.
All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, there we have it, y'all. Y'all gotta make sure y'all get ready, and y'all see all this information in the description and in the post and everything. So y'all just hit on it, check it out, and be there. And don't forget to donate.
All right.
Yeah. So you want to get any final words for people?
Yeah, just come out and let's have a discussion. The Q&A after.
Okay.
Is the main theme of the Q&A is the meaning of what is the meaning of Marcus Garvey for this day and age, and we're going to discuss that in details, and we're going to also discuss the impact of the Black females that was around Garvey and that allowed the movement to survive. That's so similar that a lot of people forget that when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his sons and all of them from the Nation of Islam was put in prison in Michigan, the person that kept the movement going was another strong Black woman, Sister Clara Muhammad. See, and they always behind the scene. They don't get the pub like a lot of these men do, because that's still a problem. That's still a problem that we got in our community that we got to get past that, as we begin to put our community together. So Amy Jakes and Amy Ashwood that lived all the way up into the 70s. One died in 1969, one died in the early 70s. And Marcus Garvey, remember, he died like 1940, something like that, when he died in London. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So that's it. Come out and be with us, and let's talk about who they consider the father of Black nationalism, Marcus Garvey, and his organization, Universal Negro Improvement Association, because we definitely need some improvement.
Yeah. And that's true. Yeah. All right, y'all. There y'all have it.
Catch the Tiger by Melvin Ishmael Johnson.
Hey, Bobby, Buck from Thanks for attending the Bobby Buck Show.